Hello, friends. So today's topic comes from John's Gospel, where Jesus says, I am the bread of life. I want to read the sentences that go with that. Pull it up here. So I know that this reflection today is really an opening of a lot of doors of reflection versus coming to a little succinct nugget to chew on. And we really get in this passage where Jesus says this, we get probably what is would have been seen at the time, or clearly from the response was seen by some as a preposterous thing to say, a preposterous thing to say. And this passage in John's Gospel, first you have the parable where he feeds 5,000 people. And then you have the story where he walks on the water. And then after he's seen walking on the water by what seems to be his closer friends, they meet him on the other side of the lake or the body of water. And they ask him, when did you get here? And Jesus responds, I tell you, you are not looking for me. You are looking for me not because you saw signs, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures, of eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. So this goes on, and it talks about bread, and it goes back to referring to Moses and the bread that Moses predicts that they'll eat, and they do receive out in the desert. And as they're talking, they're being excited by the responses that Jesus is giving. And in verse 34, they say, Sir, always give us this bread. And then he says something that is very mysterious. Jesus declares, and remember, these are translations, so we don't know all of what is being interpreted. I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. Now, when he says this, it proves to be a dividing rod. Some leave him because they can't tolerate a statement that confident. And some grow even closer to him. And I chose this for today because it is so mysterious. And it points to the level of freedom I believe that we are called. Now, I know that even if anybody saw this video that was traditional Christian, it would probably solidify me as a heretic. But I sit with an open question about this. What does that mean? How could a person in form, even fully awakened, say, I am the bread of life? And as I was reflecting on that, because I mean, that's incredibly sensual, right? That's incredibly tender and intimate. I began reflecting on Word made flesh. And you get in the beginning of John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Who was the mystic that penned those words? And then further down in verse 13, you get the Word became flesh. That's where I want to be in this reflection. The Word became flesh. So if the Word became flesh, and in this instance, if Jesus is the Word become flesh, he could say that he is the bread of life, because the divine Word is in form, and it is us as words, anthropologos, that are awakening, that are in a way tasting the divine, consuming the divine, being consumed by the divine, becoming the bread, if you will, because bread is so practical, it's so material, and we in this form are showing forth a material quality of the divine. So I have this optional homework piece for you. If you can, if you have time, whether you write it down or just reflect on it, write the statement, I am the Word made flesh. And write to unpack that for yourself. You might be at the place where I don't know if I'm the Word made flesh. That doesn't seem right. Write about it. I am the Word made flesh, but I don't know what this means. Write about it. I was looking at the etymology of incarnate, and kato is flesh, and incarnate is anything coming into flesh. So if we are the God essence and we're incarnate, then it equates that in a way we are the Word made flesh. How is it so? How is it so? And can we go so far? Could we be leading towards finally saying with our lives, I am the bread of life? Wow. Does that feel wrong to say that of yourself? I want to quote a couple people on this reflection, because it brings us to the immanency that mysticism is. Mysticism is not out of body. Mysticism, in its fullness of expression, is embodiment. So I want to throw some words towards you, and I'm going to be quoting Alan Watts and Karl Rahner, who I've quoted before. So I'm reading from Alan Watts' Behold the Spirit. And here he's doing a study in the necessity of mystical religion. So he's making a statement on Christianity, but I want to pull from that statement, and you can pull from that statement some added breadth to this topic. From the beginning, institutional Christianity has hardly contemplated the possibility that the consciousness of Jesus might be the consciousness of the Christian. That the whole point of the gospel is that everyone may experience union with God in the same way as Jesus himself. The truth that religion, to be of any use, must be mystical has always been denied by the seemingly large number of people, including theologians, that don't know what mysticism is. Its essence is the consciousness of union with God, basically to experience non-separateness or non-duality from anything, particularly with God. One must move to the mystical mind. Any other mind or heart is utterly inadequate to the task. And now I want to add a few words. It's a great paper. It's a paper that was submitted by a professor and Reverend John Dupuche. And the title of the paper is Christian Tantra, presented at a conference on Tantra. All right. I think it's Canadian. Let me see where it's at. Australian. It was in Australia. Because he was striving to find his truth. And he found it in relation to Christianity when he found the word Tantra or aspects of it, right? The embodiment, which is, I found that Tantra articulated my truth best. I didn't find my truth in Tantra. But he quotes Osho that ecstasy is our very nature, that we are truth, we are love, we are freedom, we are already there. Osho says if you can stop all doing for a single moment, the energy converges and explodes. Then you become God. And in understanding this from a bliss standpoint, Shaktipat, which is going to be our meditation practice today, well, it's one of the Kundalini mantras that is open to Shaktipat. Shaktipat is the descent of energy that leads towards bliss. That bliss is directly consciousness in form. In form. The descent of energy. We have that exemplified where? Where? In the person of Jesus. So before he died, he was already the bread of life. It didn't take dying to do that. It didn't take the resurrection to do that. Those were just awesome occasions for witnessing to what it means even more. Because we have the story on Easter Sunday that Jesus walked through walls and stood there in full body. His friends could even touch him and feel the place where the nails were in his hands. Now, the resurrection is considered the greatest bliss and joy of Christianity. Why? Because of the evidence of the Shaktipat, because of the evidence that it's the descending energy into the fullness of form. So it brings us back to Word made flesh. This is a very open Pandora box in a way, right? But I'm inviting you into a deeper reflection on what it could possibly mean that this person could say, I am the bread of life. And not just that I'm the embodiment of consciousness, but if you come to me, you won't be hungry. If you come to me, you won't be thirsty. And if that's true for Jesus and true for us, could it be that those that we resonate with on this deepest consciousness level, they come and we are mutually fed at table of the energy of consciousness, the Shaktipat that forms the union of our communion. This is a lot, isn't it? So I'm going to leave you there with all of those open open reflections. And we're going to go into a beautiful mantra. And we have chanted this once before, and I'm using a version from Snatam Kaur, which we have probably used. But as I chant it, you'll be able to jump right in. Now, in the newsletter, you see the words there. And what I'd like for you to do is, if you can, just pause this recording and read through the words and read the translation. And then turn the recording back on and simply chant with me. You'll pick it up very quickly, I promise. Okay, I invite you to close your eyes. And just join in the chant when you're able to, knowing that you are opening yourself to the descent of energy of consciousness, the Shaktipat for God realization. Gure Name, to God Gure Name, Sad Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Adure Name. Jugadure Name. Sadure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Okay. Gure Name. Jugadure Name. Sadure Name. Shri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugadure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. One more time. Gure Name. Jugat Gure Name. Sadgure Name. Sri Guru Deve Name. We bring this reflection and contemplative practice to a close. I invite you to open your eyes. Blessings, my friends.